If you're watching this video and you think the idea of charging $500 or more to mix a single song is totally outrageous, I hope this video convinces you that you might be wrong. Actually, in fact, I kind of hope that it encourages you that you need to up your rates if you want to be a professional mixer in 2024. Hello and welcome. My name is Owen-Flood and I talk about audio here on YouTube. So if you like that sort of thing, please do subscribe. And in my last video, I talked about how much you should be charging if you want to be a professional mixer in 2024, what that looks like in 3 different tiers. And a few people were frankly just kind of surprised and seemed to think that there's no way they could charge that much to mix a song, particularly the professional tier, which I was saying starts around $500 US up to $1,000 US. And despite that, there was a ton of people commenting that they're having success in this realm and that this video was based on me asking professionals that are working across North America and Europe for the most part, they still just didn't seem to think it would be possible for them. And I wanted to make this video to address why I really think you should consider upping your rates if you are one of those people. Now, of course, you can do whatever you want. This video is just a matter of opinion and also some facts that will benefit you if you do this. But of course, everybody's situation is different. No worries. But I hope this helps you. This video will essentially be broken down into 3 different arguments as to why you might want to charge at least $500, and it's going to break down one huge misconception, and that is the misconception that more work equals more success, especially in the recording industry. To a certain point, that is actually entirely accurate. You have to be busy. You need to be getting work, and work gets you work, so that's right. But unless some extra criteria are also being met in parallel, you're actually just increasing the rate that you fail. So I'm going to explore that and make sense of it, trust me. So let's start off with my first point, and it's my favorite one, and that is work less, earn more. This is my favorite part about charging more, and that is that you actually get to earn more money, or at least the same amount of money, by working less. You're charging more so you don't have to work as much to make the same amount of money or even get more money. And it's really that simple. So here's my favorite example. Say you're charging $250 per song and you need to make $4,000 a month. That's your overhead. That means you have to mix 16 songs in a month. That's a really big number. That is a busy guy or girl or whoever is mixing these songs. But the point is that's a huge amount of work. And if you're charging $250, you're going to be working like a dog. So ideally, that's not the scenario. Now, let's say you doubled that and we're charging $500 per song, which by the way is at the bottom of my professional tier pricing list in my other video that should be linked above for you. So if you're charging $500 instead of $250, you can actually just mix 8 songs in a month, which is of course half the amount of work. And that's pretty crazy. 8's still a great amount of mixes to be getting hired out consistently on a month. That's a great goal. And if you're doing that, kudos to you. And if you're doing more than that, that's awesome. But if you're doing it instead of 16, you're doing half the amount of work. So let's explore what those benefits would look like. So really think about this. Because you are working half as much, that means you only have to acquire half the amount of clients every month, which means that you only have to use your ears for half as much, and that you gain back 50% of your time to do literally anything you want. That's the craziest bit. You could use that to market your business to get more clients. Say you want to get, more than 8 songs a month. You can do that. You can use that time to redo your website, to clean the studio, practice an instrument, go for a run and exercise and leave this little dark room that I'm in, or hang out with your family, literally anything. And you're still accomplishing the same thing from a business standpoint. You're still meeting your overhead. And speaking from experience, working less actually means working better because you have a lot more to put into it. So that kind of brings me to my second point, which is suppressing mental and physical and creative fatigue. I think we probably all would agree that doing too much of anything is usually a mistake, and it's no different with audio. Even though music is this beautiful, wonderful thing, and we're all so lucky to get to do it and that people will actually pay us to do it, it's still just not a great thing to do all the time. And in fact, there are even risks to doing it too much. First off, let's start there. Let's start on the heavy stuff. There's a lot of divorced people that do this for a living. If we're just being honest, I know a lot of audio engineers that can't hold down a relationship, and especially a marriage. That is usually because they're in these little dark rooms for way too long, if we're honest. Now, that's of course an extreme example, but furthermore, health. A lot of audio engineers struggle with keeping themselves healthy. And this happens from even at celebrity levels where they're making tons of money, they're still working too much. And you have to exercise, you have to eat well, you have to look after yourself, you have to get sunlight on your face and not the dark room again. That has to happen. Tinnitus is another one. That's just like most audio engineers, it's so likely that you're going to run into this at some point if you're not careful. And that's just, you're going to get that ringing in your ears because you're overusing your ears. You're listening to, it doesn't matter if you're mixing quiet. If you're just putting your ears under constant stress, it's going to happen to you. So there's this huge disadvantage to working too much. Even if you're being careful, it's just too much for too long. And that will lead to the end of your career if you're not careful. That's a really dramatic thing to say, but it's totally possible. And I'm sure somebody's going to comment down below being like, yeah, exactly what he said here. You could end your career by charging too little and working too much, which is so crazy to think about. Why would you do that to yourself, right? But on the flip side, we also have this creative battery, and that can get burnt out as well. On one hand, there's this idea that are we working for the song or are we working to pay our bills? And I mix a lot better if I feel like I'm mixing for the song and not to pay my bills, because paying my bills is not a creative thing. It's a thing I need to do, not that I want to do. So I like to be able to come at a song from the point of view of it's something I want to do, not what I need to do. And that's, of course, going to reflect in the mix. But furthermore, going back to the time saving thing in point 1, now I have all this extra time that I can spend on the song if I feel like I need to or I want to. So do I want to just try mixing it from scratch because I got a new piece of hardware that I don't want to throw on my mix bus? Sure, let's see if it's better. I can experiment with that. Do I want to print out an alt version the next day just to see if my ears were fresher? Why not? I've got the time, the client's not waiting. It buys you all this latitude to experiment and feel more comfortable and try new things. Or if you think you nailed it, you send it off and you go for a run, or that's what I do anyways. So it's creatively huge benefit, health-wise, huge benefit, relationship-wise, giant benefit. Now, our third kind of perk to charging more is that charging more gets you better clients. I can't exactly say why this is, but it's like a universal law at this point. And if you go and watch my last video and look through the comments, there's so many people saying the same thing. You think you're going to lose your clients by charging more, and you will. If you double your rates, you will lose those $250 clients if you start charging $500. Almost definitely. Not always, but almost definitely. And if you start charging like $750, yeah, they're probably gone because they don't value you as a $750 mixer or a $500 mixer. They value you as a $250 mixer because you told them to, because you told them that's what you're worth. So it's really hard to change that perception, but you'll make new clients. And the best part is that those new clients, the ones that can afford $500, $750 or more, or whatever in that ballpark, they do value at that. And they also value the industry kind of at a higher level because they're used to paying for things in this higher price frame. At least this is my hypothesis. So when you get hired to mix a song at like $650, that's the new rate that I'm going for 2024. I was $600 for like 2 years before that. So I'm going for $650 this year. When I get hired to mix a song at $650, they're hiring me because they trust me and they think that I'm an expert in this. When I was getting hired at like $300 a song, $400 a song, it's because I was cheap and they could afford me. They didn't necessarily trust me. They might have thought, hey, this song turned out cool, but like, I don't know, we got to stay on this guy and make sure it's like how we want it. That's a totally different customer relationship. They don't actually think that I can pull it off. They just think that we can get it across the line with enough work. Where the better paying clients, they actually think that I'm going to smash it out to the park. And like what I do is valuable and that my ideas, I'm bringing something to the table. I'm not necessarily there to satisfy their idea of how it should be mixed. I'm there to provide a mix, and that's so different, way more fun to mix as well. And it's actually creative again. So many perks to that. If you haven't experienced a client like that, I can't wait till you do. You're going to be like, how do I only get these? And the answer is probably charging more. They live at a certain tier because they're generally successful. There's, of course, exceptions where really successful people are very controlling. For the most part, in my experience and a lot of other people's experience, the higher up the ladder you go, the more trusting they are in the team that they choose and hire for a reason. They're hiring you for a reason based on your portfolio and the relationship with you, and they trust that. That's awesome. And because of that trust, that usually translates to like less revisions, which is really awesome. So that's, again, time saving. The music's generally better as well because they're operating at a higher, more successful level. And there's a reason for that. It's because their music's good. So that's even more fun to mix. The productions that you're getting to mix are probably a higher quality because they could probably afford a good studio, a good producer, a good engineer. They're probably good musicians as a result. It all kind of compounds to this like, wow, this is a better scenario than I was in last year or whenever you upped your rates. Oh, and one more really cool perk is that word of mouth is how this industry really works. And that word of mouth could pertain to also your portfolio. Somebody's looking up who mixed that song, but it's actually really, it's more localized than that generally. It's bands talking to bands about who did the thing that they heard and they liked. That's really often how you'll get hired in this industry. And these higher level bands, we're calling them, the higher paying bands, higher level bands, they run in circles of other higher paying, higher level bands. So it's no mystery when you look at your favorite celebrity mixer and you see that they mix a bunch of famous bands, because that's kind of where they roll now. That's their circle. That's their referral network. You know, they're mixing famous band A, who also is managed by the same guy that manages famous band B. So maybe that manager is going to recommend, hey, so-and-so, celebrity mixer, knocked it out of the park. Why don't you mix this? You kind of leverage your way up that. It's a bit of like a chicken and the egg scenario, like which one came first? How do you become a celebrity mixer without getting a celebrity band? And how do you, it's tricky, but you kind of do have to make a leap at some point. And that kind of brings us to the caveat of this entire video, is that you can't just charge more if your work's not good. Your work has to be on that level. The skill and experience of this idea of charging a professional rate is kind of based on the idea that you can put out and reliably put out a professional product. I can't tell you that. Only you can really be honest with yourself about that. Maybe you know professionals who you trust that would give you a really honest opinion, but really trust them and ask for really unbiased, brutally honest feedback and what you could do to get there if you're not there. That'd be constructive. It's a really hard thing to do. It's just the way it is. Like if you're not mixing at a professional level, you can't charge a professional rate, probably. I still think you could probably charge more than you think. Most people charge less than they think they could, but at the end of the day, you have to have a quality product that you're able to provide. So yeah, it's a ranty one. I enjoy talking about this stuff though. But I do want to leave you out with a bonus tip. And that bonus tip is to work backwards when deciding your rate. So instead of thinking, how much do I think I'm worth? Think about how much do you need to make, or actually, better yet, want to make in a month. Just for example, we'll use months because that's what we usually do. And then how many songs would you ideally be mixing in that month as well? So let's say you need to make $5,000 in a month. And in a perfect world, you'd like to mix 5 songs in a month. So you like not being too busy, having tons of time. You want to experiment, try retracking stuff, reamping, whatever you want to do. Going deep. 5 songs a month's all you want in a perfect world. You divide that $5,000 by 5 songs, and that works out to $1,000 per song. So $5,000 in a month, essentially. So that's a big rate. But it gets you thinking like, okay, well, I can't quite charge that much, but maybe I could charge this and then make up that difference to get to that $5,000 I need a month by doing session work or playing live or whatever artistic thing you like to do for money, or maybe not artistic thing. It's just all about reframing it by what you want and need rather than what you think you're worth, because most of us have huge imposter syndrome and really struggle with proper valuing, like giving ourselves a proper value. So if that sounds like you, work backwards. Don't just be like, I feel like I'm too afraid to charge this much, so how's $200 for the whole album? You're gonna hate your life at the end of that. So instead, work backwards. You'll be so stoked. It's a great experiment. Even if you don't go with it, just try the exercise. I promise you'll get something out of it. Okay, so yeah. And if you didn't see my last video about pricing, it's linked. Go check that out, and I'll see you in the next one. Adios. Bye.